Got it.
You
Live
got
streaming.
it.
We're live.
We are live on several platforms. Not sure. YouTube, LinkedIn, maybe. Who knows? Not LinkedIn.
No,
I lied.
not LinkedIn. That's the one. Facebook,
Possibly
YouTube.
Facebook,
Yeah.
YouTube. Wait, which ones?
Facebook, YouTube, and Zoom.
Super
Three
appropriate because
platform.
today's
Next
topic.
next month on LinkedIn.
We're
But
talking LinkedIn next month.
yeah, right?
Is that right? Let's
Maybe.
line that up. Is that the topic for next month?
I don't know. We should make it because we'll be live streaming on it. So then we'll
Oh,
be
I
able
like
to.
that. I'm fine with that. We didn't send the email out yet, so that's good.
We're gonna change it up, guys. Change it up.
Well, we are live on several platforms to any and all that want to hang out and learn about Facebook. We're going to talk about Facebook today. And there's so much that we could go into, but instead we organized it into a couple of key topics. Now, literally every single person, I think, that even has a small business, mid business, big business, I don't know, just has a phone or computer at this point has heard of Facebook. But by that same token, at this point, it has become this monster company, 2.5 almost billion users, a lot of people on it, and it gets a little bit of flack these days, right? So we wanted to start off talking about literally Facebook for small local businesses. What is going on? What's the importance of it? And do you even need it? And I think that's an interesting wrinkle there, that you could search for some resources or talk to some people, and really you get down to like, what do I do? That's what we hear the most, right, David? We hear the, what do I do with it?
Yeah. Well, first thing, maybe you Googled it, right? I would say if you've done that and you're reading something and it is from 2 to 3 years ago, I would, unfortunately, so much has changed, and it's an ever evolving social network that not only do things look different on it, but the absolute um, direction that you can do within the platform has probably changed. So I would definitely say, if you're going to do any sort of research, and should you be on it, right, is always a big question. If you're going to read stuff or hear stuff about it, make sure it's pretty recent, because it changes so often. They're constantly kind of tweaking it.
Big time. And to your point of 2-3 years ago, talk 2-3 months ago, and things are even different. So for starters, if anybody's watching live and you have a specific question, feel free to either put it in a chat or put it on whatever platform you are watching on. It's okay if not, no big deal. We're going to cover a wide array of topics here. So right out of the gate, do you need it? The answer is no. We want to be very clear that it's not an absolute need. Would we suggest, is it in your potential best interest to have a strategy for it? Yeah, because we would say that about nearly any free marketing avenue, right? These social media platforms do not have a cost typically to begin a journey with them. We'll get into their ad network in a little bit, but it's free, right? But I don't want, and I think we don't want anyone to feel like if they can't put the time in, meaning they're really going to like never touch it. What do you think? Do they need it? If they're never going to do it, it's going to be like the once in everywhere, couple days you do it. It's random posts. You never know what you're going to do. Do they need it?
Well, probably not. Probably not. Now, there's probably a certain number of industries that probably like should have it, right? Maybe like restaurants or events or like some touristy stuff, right? I would say like some of the things like that are probably more on like you almost need it. It's there's kind of an expectation of it. But yeah, depending on where your business is at, you might not have to start one, right? It's not necessarily a requirement. Now, in the interest of knowing where people are for your business, it can't hurt to have one that you control. Correct. So that way somebody doesn't start one on your behalf. So I wouldn't.
Well, sure.
I'd probably at least start one and maybe put I'm not posting here right now. Come back later.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because you can even do that. You can even have a business page, have it up, have a banner that's your logo, and make a pinned post that says, hey, we don't put up-to-date stuff here right now, but find us on our website or find us on whichever platform. For example, it gets overwhelming. I want to be very clear. There's a lot of social media platforms. There's Instagram, there's Snapchat, there's TikTok, there's LinkedIn, there's YouTube. I mean, you name it. Hi-Ho's a new one. it's not reasonable to expect a small business owner to be able to spend hours per week on each one. So you would almost be best served taking a pause, figuring out who you're actually going after, meaning like this is for a different conversation, but it'll help you with the Facebook journey. Who's your customer, right? Who are you ending up going after? And then once you know your customer, it makes it a lot easier because Facebook does trend a little older, really trending up in the 55 and up, maximizing their usage of the platform. So if you're selling things that would work really well for 55 and up, well, damn, yes, absolutely. Facebook's a great thing. But I'm not saying that those are the only people that are on the platform, just giving some context into if you take that one breather before you get overwhelmed with, well, people told me I have to post or people told me I have to do this. Hold up. We're a marketing company. We make money if you give us money to do stuff. And we're telling you, you might not have to do that because the honest truth is finding out who you're trying to get in front of first is a better step than just blindly posting and hoping something's going to work.
And so maybe you might not also know who also, maybe you're not sure that is it the 55 and up crowd or who is it that I'm going after, right? We could all joke that obviously probably if they're 18 and under, they're probably not on Facebook. Probably what, 21 and under probably is not really going on Facebook.
Very few.
But another way also to find out is to look at your competitors on Facebook. Look at who's out there that is I would say a very close contemporary of yours. And the good news is, you can look internationally, you can look across the US and find somebody that has a similar kind of business setup that you do to kind of find out some of the kind of maybe uniquenesses of what they're doing. Is it working? Are they getting reactions? Are they not? Other things to just kind of know, because I think even if, let's say your sweet spot client is right there at 55 and up, it's like, that's who I reach. So I'm going to post away. It's going to be great. And nobody reacts, right? It's like, okay, maybe what I'm doing is not that same direction. Or you can't look at the Wendy's profile or, maybe the,
right. You do
Orange
have to
County,
try.
School system is posting every day and people are reacting to it, or the news is. It's a very different animal that way, right?
You do have to try to compare apples to apples and not go too far out of the realm, because what happened with Facebook over the years is they diminished and reduced organic reach. Organic reach is I think the most valuable and beautiful thing in all of web, right? Whether that's you're getting organic traffic to a website, whether that's views on a YouTube video that you did not pay for. Facebook 15 years ago, 10 years ago, even about 5-6 years ago, had a lot of organic reach before their ad network really grew. And they make all of their money off of the ad networks. I'm just going to say that one more time. They make all of their money off the ad network. Now, they did start peripherals and they sell sunglasses now and video things, but a lot of that is a loss leader to get the name out there. They make most of their money from their ad network. And that is why organic reach got throttled down to actual zero, where right now, if you have 1,000 followers on there for your business, it's very unlikely that all of them will even see a single post that you make. And it's a 0% chance that people outside of those people that would see anything without you paying additional dollars. But before we dive further into anything paid, let's talk about a few things that, let's say, we'll go the other way with it. We hopefully you got out of it that you don't need it. It's definitely an asset if you're going to use it. But if you are going to post, sometimes there's questions about what to post, when to post, how to post. We'll go with ideal first, right? In a perfect world, and it's not a perfect world, and we know that. In a perfect world, you'd be able to post frequently, literally daily, multiple times to update what's going on. The old adage of like, okay, I can just post one time a week. When you had organic reach back then, fine, you were getting caught up and some people would see it. But nowadays, if you don't have a strategy that kind of puts content out constantly, there are other things you can do. Facebook groups, for example. I want to dive in on that for a second, because what we're seeing is that Facebook groups actually has some growth potential for your small business, where organic posting, no matter when you're posting, it doesn't matter if you're posting in the morning, in the evening, at night, your own analytics, your own Facebook analytics will show you when people are engaging the most with your content. there's no silver bullet anymore. The same in email, by the way. There's no silver bullet anymore of like a perfect time to send an email or a perfect time to put out a post, because it's Facebook's too big now.
Well, the other thing too is even in some email, where whether it's email or Facebook, right? Algorithmically, at some point, it doesn't matter what time you post, because it's going to manipulate your feed to show you what it thinks is going to be most engaging to you. It's the same thing in email. Sometimes, where depending on your email client, it will sort what it thinks are the most important emails up top. Like, that's not uncommon at this point. It's not that you sent your email at the wrong time that I got bumped down, that it felt that there was two more important emails up there, right? So there, again, that's that whole like time is tough, because you kind of have to play around with it and see.
Well, and rather than trying to like guess when your intended people are on, if you put more energy into whatever you're going to post and who you're trying to get in front of, to the earlier point of like knowing that intended person, it won't matter whether that went out at 9:05 a.m. or 9 p.m. If it was, again, a valuable piece of content or tagged appropriately or dropped in we'll get to this in a second, the right group, for example, it will do what you want it to do. Now, groups is very different. So maybe David, break down even what Facebook groups is for those that have even never used it or didn't know about it.
Yeah, so groups can be broken down. There's public and private groups, would be the easiest way to put it. It is a community within the Facebook community, right? That usually is very topic oriented, right? So I'm a part of one that's for agencies. There's ones that are for local SEO. There's one for trying to employ today. She's in a scooter one because she has a Vespa thing. So there's ones that talk about that. And usually it's very topic focused. It might be regional focus. It might be subject focus. And most of them are private, and you have to get some sort of approvals, right? You can't sometimes ask you to answer a couple questions. You have to do them sometimes. Sometimes you can, kind of join, and it takes, for a moderator just to approve you. But once you're in, you follow the rules. There's usually a set of rules that they have, everybody be nice and all that stuff. But once you're in, everything you post there really gets amplified to that community. That community could have 100, 500. I've seen 10,000. I've seen 12. Yeah, right? It depends on the page. And the good news is if you would never show up on those people's Facebook feeds. But if they're part of the group, it will give you in your feed, Craig posted within the scooter chat this. He wants to know what happens if he has a flat tire, or why would his tire go flat after a week, right? And then you might get some answers and best practices and things like that. So you could use it as an engagement piece. You could also use it to answer other people's information, assuming that's a topic that you're comfortable with or can share with. The other side of it, though, is that you can begin to start making those connections to people, like-minded people that are similar in your space. Also, the private side of it can also be very helpful, because now maybe you can talk about things that maybe you wouldn't necessarily post on your personal page or even on your business page, that you could put in a somewhat closed environment. So.
And here's a big thing that I think that not only do we want everyone to know, but it would be part of any of if we're consulting or working with someone on even a Facebook strategy or a social media strategy at large, but specifically to groups, this could help unlock stuff for every other platform or literally your entire marketing strategy. What works in Facebook groups is never selling, never being salesy and hitting people with like, buy my thing or book with me or do that. It's the opposite. It's typically giving, either like David said, answering questions that come up. I'll give an example. If you're in a group that's for like sandwich shop owners, right? And there's a sandwich shop owner in a lot of places, and you're in the group, and there's one that's asking about a certain cut of meat, or that they were using like, hey, what blade do you use for your deli thing? It'd be great if you had an answer for that to post it there, but not then to sell them the machine that you might have. That wouldn't be the great time to be like, well, it would be just giving them the answer and not then following it with a sales piece. To to crush it in in Facebook groups, to crush it in groups as a whole or online in interaction, the more you can give. So no matter what your business is, I'll speak for us, for example, if we're jumping into groups, we're not in there to try to sell a website. We're not in there to try to sell a marketing retainer. It may be that another agency owner, because again, David's in groups like that, has a question, or we've had questions that we've put out in a group and other agency owners around the country have answered.
Right, right. Well, they have answers, and maybe they have a specified skill set that we hit something that we can't do, or that we just never touch, or hey, I'm getting this person that's looking for this new type of website builder that I've never used before, right? Does anybody have experience with it? You might have back and forth with somebody and then realize, "Oh, I don't want to bother with that." And then maybe you say, hey, no problem. Let me pass this off to you. You sound like an expert because you've been talking with me about how your use of it, right? You can become that expert. You can actually sell yourself without ever selling yourself as being the expert on that topic, on that subject, on that thing. I watch a lot of times of it, people are needing help on something, and it's not that they need help with it, they just need direction, or they don't know where to even pass it off to. And the group growth has just been huge. And it seems like that most people that now are using Facebook, some of the maybe even some of the younger people are getting into it within the group aspect is the thing that they feel most engaged with.
It's a closed system of people that at least have chosen a specific like-minded topic, for example. That's the difference. The difference is it isn't screaming in the wind, so to speak. Like, you're not putting stuff out there to just anyone and everyone. With a Facebook group, you choose whether you try to enter the group or not. You're not just thrust upon groups. You're actively saying, hey, I want to join this one, and either filling that out. So you have an opportunity that, again, if you put that thoughtful few minutes in the planning piece of like, what kind of people become great referrals for me long-term, right? Because let's talk about it. Any other business, whether you're a doctor, lawyer, a marketing agency, it doesn't matter. You tend to not get referrals just because you dream of them or you want them. You've done things or you've created connections to get those referrals. If more people could think of Facebook groups as basically a way they can sit on their tush at home doing networking, there's an opportunity for massive growth there. And social media as a whole can actually be that. I don't care if that's Twitter. I don't care if that's LinkedIn. The more you're putting time in, adding value to other people with your own expertise that you literally have. You're an expert in something, whether you believe it or not. You have a small business that basically makes you that. That means you have value to add. The more you do that in that Facebook group setting, the more you're basically planting seeds for your own success.
Yeah. And the groups I would compare to like a forum. So like some of the forums back in the day, more like 10, 15, 20 years ago, when those were kind of a big thing. A couple of even the forums that have been around for a bit have now dissolved, and they've turned into Facebook groups.
Right.
And it is, which is interesting, because I feel like not a lot of things have gone towards Facebook but
groups has,
and people
been a growth
found,
for them.
That spot, it works well. It does get some visibility, and is the only kind of organic reach really that you're gonna really get. So,
as we step into talking about paid now, we want to make sure that, like what David just said, that's the thing right there. The real organic opportunity on Facebook right now is groups, not just posting or boosting or any of that.
Well, one more thing on that though, less on organic, right?
No,
Was it was just something, not something necessarily that might be the organic future, but like Reels, right, went from Instagram and are now available on Facebook. And if you want to participate in Facebook ecosystem and they're trying something out, a good choice is to try it, right? Because a lot of times they'll give you a little extra visibility you've ever had before when they do lives. We're doing that because that also gives you just a little bit extra view than just a regular post. To saying, hey, come visit our live stream. When we go actually live, it helps versus just posting the video. So there's these little things that if you are going to putting these little preferred ways of kind of going into their platform, you might get a little bit more, not a ton. It's not like it back in the day where you post and you have 100 followers, but 500 people see it. You tend not to get that
No, no,
as
no. You
frequently.
nailed it
Yeah.
there, and I think that's a great strategy for anyone on any platform, but specific to Facebook, figuring out what performs best. And there is data on this. And thank you guys. There's some questions that have come in, and we're trying to kind of answer them in real time as they come in. There's really good data across the web as a whole, not just Facebook, that video trumps an image or just a text post. The reason for that, and again, there's tons of websites, WordStream, Facebook themselves actually puts out this data. They want video on the platform. There's a war for eyeballs going on out there, okay? It isn't just Netflix and Hulu and Apple TV. It's all the social platforms. So what David said there, that this is new. This is literally like this month. The Instagram Reels functionality, which was the short form video function as the like, hey, TikTok's doing that, we want to do it also. That is now coming to the Facebook platform. Kind of like how Instagram stories really kind of became this thing that then Facebook kind of adopted stories. So Reels is here too. And the data that Facebook, they're open about this, but you can also get third party on it, would show you that video is going to get you the biggest return on anything. The coolest thing about video also is you get to repurpose it. So this can work on it, whether it's TikTok, Reels, Facebook, I don't care, YouTube. One video that you make that maybe is like, let's say you're a wedding venue and you're doing a walkthrough, right? Or I'll go back to my sandwich shop and I'm showing how I make my pastrami sandwich that I want people to buy. That one video, you post it one time, that's not the end of what you should do with a video. Even if it's a live video, this very thing we're doing right now, we intend to then have available on YouTube. We may go back 6 months from now, embed it on our website. We'll then take a cool clip of something David said. We'll post that somewhere. Content can be used and reused multiple times because, to our earlier point, organically, it's not getting all the reach, which means you reposting it again and again means new people might see it. But want to be clear, video is at the top of the heap for anything social right now. The algorithms for damn near every platform prioritize the video. Some of the platforms require it. For example, TikTok is a video platform, right? YouTube, you can't really post anything other than a video, right? So like those platforms have already fully embraced it. Facebook making the moves they made, and this is literally this month, moving into Reels. Live was years ago, though. Facebook Live, something they came out with years ago where they were saying, if you go live, we'll probably show your live video to a few extra people. That's still in play also.
Yeah, it's just not as, the live is not as much, but we always say when things are tested out, to be a part of the test, you're part of their test, right? You're part of their experience. So
no, and there's so much that we can talk about with Facebook and social media. So I want to make sure we touch on the Facebook Business Suite and the paid side of it. What we may do, and again, Facebook changed their name. The company, the parent company became Meta. Facebook is still Facebook. Facebook is the Facebook.com. That's a social network. They're owned by Meta that owns many other things. They own WhatsApp, they own Instagram, they own Oculus. Think of it more like how Google, we all know Google.com, but actually the parent company is Alphabet Incorporated. It's above that. You don't hear it as much unless you're like, I guess, buying the stock or something like that. You don't hear about it as much. We'll eventually, I don't think it'll be next month. We're going to talk LinkedIn next month. We can have a deeper dive into the metaverse, what Facebook's doing, and how you could maybe be planting seeds for your business. It's early. So I don't think there's anything that a small business owner needs to worry about right now for what Facebook is doing with Meta. I think it's more important to think about what Groups offers today. And let's close with the business suite, the Facebook Business Suite. Again, free. So bing, 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 like all these tools available for free. Some of them, I'm going to be honest, require a developer. Right out of the gate, working with the Facebook Pixel, trying to track everything, trying to make sure that you can get the most out of whatever data you have on Facebook. David, speak to that briefly of like, yes, you can DIY it, but there is usually something that you might need some Google Tag Manager and some things.
Yeah. I mean, you can usually get add to your site and maybe a developer to get on the site, or you can kind of work through depending on what platform you're on. But from there, it's just about a lot of data science, a lot of understanding, a lot of parsing some of that data. So there's they have a lot of information in there, some of which unfortunately though is getting lost in the cookieless tracking and iPhone shutting some of it down. So you don't necessarily have even as much visibility as you had before, but there's definitely like they're showing more and more kind of information in terms of your page successes and how your brand is interacted with. And the pixel, right? The key on the pixel, right? That's separate, obviously, from your Facebook page. Usually a lot of times you might want to put your pixel on your website or other like places where you're marketing possibly to kind of help trying to bridge some of that information. It doesn't fully do it, but it's kind of like a secondary analytics tool, almost like a Google Analytics. So
yeah, and once you've got that thought down of that, tracking is so important. And this is for your website, for your socials, for Facebook specifically. But what's so cool about the big platforms, and Facebook's obviously one of the biggest, if not the biggest, they've all invested heavily in analytics. Whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on TikTok, whether you're on Twitter, there's usually an analytics button. You might have to find it. You might have to go deeper. It looks like a graph usually. That data is valuable to you. And if you're willing to spend a little bit of time, maybe even monthly, dare I say, as a small business owner, it'd be worth it to dive into like, okay, so I posted 8 times in March, right? What the heck happened to any of them? And this isn't just browsing through your own feed and seeing a couple thumb ups and comments. It's going in to see what reach did it get. Reach is how many people could have seen it, possibly. Engagements are whether they liked it, commented on it, or shared it. And it's important to figure out, you know, if you had 8 posts and all 8 didn't get a single thing, I'll be blunt with you, wrong type of content. You're probably not posting anything that anyone cares to see. And I know that maybe come across harsh, but let the data dictate that rather than anyone's opinion, right? I'll speak to the same for my own stuff. If I'm putting tweets out and I get no likes, I might still do it for myself because I'm putting out whatever I want. But if I'm trying to get engagement, I might be leaning on some of the posts that did well. And I go into the Twitter analytics and say, oh, David knows, we talk about this all the time. Like, man, that one really popped off and I tagged this and I did that. You know,
add an image or a video or something.
Oh my God, the video one blew up. That's even on Twitter. I know we're not talking Twitter today, but the video is what Facebook's trying to go after. So before I get down a rabbit hole, Facebook ads. So through the business suite, you can get a lot of data, you can set up a lot of tracking, but it is also where the ad network kind of has that access point. And we want to be clear with everybody that Facebook ads are not evil. They're challenging, just like Google ads, just like any ad network. It actually takes work and effort to do well at it. This is not something that we would ever recommend just turning on and saying like, okay, figure it out. Meaning, because both Google, Facebook, and literally anyone that takes ads has that, by the way. They have it where you could type in 5 things, give them $500, and all of a sudden you're like, well, I'm $500 poorer and I'd have no new leads, no new information. What happened? Or I've boosted all my best posts and I still didn't get anything. Why not? Well, Facebook's very good at parting people with their money, especially small business owners, right? They built that whole setup for it. Just because you may have tried that a time or two and it didn't work out does not mean the ad network's bad. It's not that. It's that it probably would have taken maybe weeks of planning, tracking, setup, then actually testing like 4 different ad types, putting that out, taking that data in, seeing what worked, seeing what didn't, going all in on the ones that worked. And I'm not saying this to intimidate. I'm saying this to maybe liberate anyone that's thinking, well, I want to spend money, I want to do something. That's awesome. That's great intent, right? But breathe, pause, and put a plan together. Whether that's with a marketing agency or not, you could do it on your own too, but put the plan together before you just throw it. Google has the same thing where you could put $500 in and boom, it's gone. AdWords Express, bye. So we want to make sure people realize that it isn't the platform that's broken just because it maybe didn't work for a certain thing or not. It's that all of this stuff takes time, effort, and intent.
One of the big things that Facebook has really done well on is some of its kind of machine learning of sweet spot, putting your ad in front of the right people, right? You can set some things, but really the goal would be to try to let Facebook try to find that, use some of its kind of automation that has in its system to kind of help you out there. And unfortunately, that can sometimes take, a week, 2 weeks.
Could be
So
longer.
like, obviously when you boost a post and it gets seen for 7 days, unfortunately, it doesn't give enough time to even, you're at that point, you're not necessarily giving the automation side of it, the abilities for, or the AI or the learning of who's going to engage most with your post. You're not necessarily even, unfortunately, seeing that. You're seeing, so that's why also having a budget that runs for a long enough period of time,
No,
start
I'm
getting
glad you
enough of
went
that
there.
data is
We're,
the key. So
as you guys can see, anyone that's watching either live or thereafter, our whole thing is trying to be as transparent as possible. So to what David just said, we don't even tell people to consider ad campaign tests for anything less than a few $1,000 anymore. And not because we're going to keep that, by the way, even if it's someone we're managing it, it's that we're having to spend thousands to get the data to make sure what's going to convert and what's not. There's no longer really a great way to put like $500 at risk. We'd rather recommend you hold your $500 and maybe do some sort of giveaway for $480 down the road. You might get more out of that than just throwing money at ads without a bigger campaign or really a bigger reason behind it. These platforms are incredibly powerful when wielded appropriately. And to our earlier point, Facebook might not be for you, and that's all right. There's a ton of other ways to get eyeballs on stuff. But if you know that there's opportunity there, either through groups, because you know there's other like-minded people that you can help or might be able to help you, you're willing to spend some ad kind of money to really bring sales together, and you have a bit of a couple months arc to like learn, adapt, and grow, or you just know you want to be posting and putting up video, it can work for you. But this isn't a one-stop fixes everything kind of thing. And unfortunately, marketing isn't that across the board. Things we were doing 10 years ago and 5 years ago are irrelevant now, even for some of our best performing websites that we put out. The game is to constantly know what's going on and try to be playing in that sandbox. And for Facebook right now, that is going to be your groups primarily. If the budget, again, if you don't want to worry about ad spend, get involved with groups, do what you can to add value. And if you're going to be posting, try video and reels.
mm-hmm. Exactly. Love it.
So thank you guys so much. I know we went a little, we got into it on this one. I mean, there's just so much, right? And we're going to dive into LinkedIn. We'll have plenty of other fun topics coming your way. Thank you guys for watching. Feel free to hit us with questions after the fact, and we'll see you next time.
Have a good one.